And again, answering are the Eagles.
Gatto now, 4-3. That's 2 in a row for the freshman. The steal, the spin, behind the back, splitting the double team. Elliott! Oh! Ryan Thomas with a jam. Back serve with authority for his first points of the night. That could be an SC top 10.
What's up, guys? This is Screech Report. It's been a while, but we're doing our weekly pod tonight. We just finished watching the VCU game. VCU beat us 78-48. It was a pretty brutal game, 30-point loss. Let's dive right into our initial reactions. I'm here with Russell and Dawson on the phone, but what do you think, guys?
Yeah, we sound like a bunch of beat-down workers here that have been overworked and overused and have lost all our love for life. So sorry, guys, if we sound a little sad, but it's what happens. It's what happens when we just get beat. I mean, coming off that win the other night, that was a good little high, but yeah, we just looked bad tonight. I mean, it's one thing to get, out rebounded or, outplayed due to athleticism, but to just turn it over like we did, I think we had 26 turnovers.
I'm looking right now, 27 turnovers for us and 8 for VCU. That is
abysmal.
That is, like, absolutely...
How do you win like that?
Yeah.
The answer is you don't.
The other glaring stat that I see is, and it's kind of like one of those under the table stats, but we took 50 shots and they took 76. They took 26 more shots than us.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
And part of that was due to the turnovers, but if you take 26 shots and say they're all 2-pointers, that's like
make half of them
50 points.
Yeah. Well, if you right. make half of them, then you get 26 points,
which is the deficit we lost.
Right, exactly.
30 points.
So there you go.
I mean, it was pretty rough.
We couldn't get it out of the front court half the time.
And most of those turnovers were not due to VCU defense, I don't think. I think a lot of them were
miscommunications on our end and sloppy play. For sure.
It was
doesn't appear to be getting much better. I mean, there are some areas where I'm seeing improvement.
Okay, here's another glaring stat. We took 4 free throws.
No way.
4.
Did we really?
Now we made 3 out of 4, but we took 4. In the last game against FAU, I think we took like
how many we're
13.
Supposed to take? Yeah. Well, that 4 that we shot is in comparison to 16 from them, in which they made 13 of them. So there's another.
That's been points. One of our problems this whole year is getting to the line because we're not a very when we pass it in or drive in, we tend to lose the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say
we don't get fouled. And
it's we started in the past 2-3 games or so really trying to work it inside because that was in the first couple of games it was like all outside shots and nothing was falling even if it was a good shot. And now we're really making an effort to work it inside, but it's for the most part it seems to be getting stolen or the ball gets lost or it's a pass goes out of bounds or something like that. We're working harder at getting inside, but it's not coming. Fouls aren't happening. The scoring's not happening as much as it should.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad. I mean, if it's not Dakota Rivers getting the ball down low, I'm kind of just scared every time. I mean, Zach doesn't look too good driving to the hole, unfortunately. I mean, I can't think of a time where Scott drove to the hoop and didn't get swatted.
Well, he's never been that type of player. He's always been that guy
right.
that is supposed to be a perimeter player.
Who can take that one step inside and shoot a nice mid-ranger too. Yeah.
Someone drives in, kicks it out, Zach's wide.
Yeah.
Caleb's that same type of player too, so they're having to go out of their comfort zone to drive in and try and make something happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got our two bigs that are just fresh and new, and they're not used to banging down low. So it's like, who do you got driving to the rim to get those free throws? You don't really have anyone. Jalen Warren's trying, but it's like
It's hit or miss right now, especially with him coming off the bench too. And I mean, I get it. I know that he had, his breakout performance last game, but so he's like, oh, we'll throw him back in the starting lineup. But I get not doing that just because, well, maybe coming off the bench was like a spark for him. Let's ride that until that spark fizzles out, But and he actually didn't have a horrible game either. It's just 7 points, 5 assists. But at the same time, it's just not enough. You just need more.
I like his dribbling. I mean, I like his decision making for the most part. Is dribbling, Jalen Warren, and I mean, he just needs to stop picking the ball up right when he gets over half court. I mean, he needs to be able to see those double teams coming, and we need to get open for him. Like it just seemed like, especially with VCU, but I've noticed in the last few games where we just get trapped right past half court, and then we just don't know what to really do with it. It's getting old a little bit.
Yeah, the concerning thing is our guards are the best rebounders right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at Cato, he had 9 boards. Zach Scott had 8.
Even
Gagliardi had 5, and then the next closest is Rainwater with 3.
And another guard, Jalen Harper, with 3.
Right, so that's the most concerning is your two guys that are supposed to be down low getting those boards aren't getting them, whether it be 50-50 balls or it's just not there yet. So it's
Yeah,
it's kind of concerning, and Tracy Hector has become less of a factor. I'd like to see. Did he start tonight?
Yeah, he started.
I'd like to see the starting lineup change a little bit to give us better chances. And you guys look at the first part of the game, and it was a shit show. Part of my language, but I mean, it was like no one was scoring. It was just turnover central on both teams. I think it was like 4 or 5 points VCU to us 0, and after like 4 minutes or something like that.
We're lucky
3
it
minutes,
wasn't
4
like
minutes.
We're lucky it wasn't like 20-0.
Right, they missed their first
But
6 shots.
that's what I'm saying. If we capitalize on that first few minutes, we could have been up by 5 and maybe had a better shot going into the first half.
Right, with all the momentum that a young team like us needs to say, look what we can do against a top-notch team.
So to me, there needs to be a starting lineup change where you put the best possible guys in that lineup to get those points, and I don't think that's happened yet. But
yeah, I think Dakota Rivers should start over Justice Rainwater.
I think Justice Rainwater would be great off the bench, great energy off the bench.
Right.
I'm not trying to demean him or anything, but I feel like Rivers has a little more finesse, a little more range than Rainwater, and then you bring Rainwater off the bench, you bring that energy and strength, and he can kind of provide that extra energy when Rivers takes a break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and who knows how that's going to go going forward too. Not to get too ahead of ourselves just yet, but next game against a team like Florida Tech, Division II, in theory, a D1 team is supposed to handle them pretty well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, even if it's only for the one game, a starting lineup shakeup and have a lot of the younger guys kind of get pushed to the front, just to help them work out the kinks they need to work on. But also, it's a good time to see your normal starters, who have potentially struggled against some of these really good non-conference teams that we've been playing, to see how they can, kind of rebound from that and try to build some confidence.
So this has been a side note. Zach Scott hasn't really shot well in any of the last few games. I mean, tonight he shot 18%. 18%. Last game was 36%, which is a little bit better. Mercer was 29, Dartmouth 38, UMBC 20. Those are all lower percentages than what he's used to. And I think it's because he's been forced to try harder, whether that be driving, making plays. to me, he's that guy. He's that catch and shoot guy, and he's a playmaker. Don't get me wrong, but that is his bread and butter is catch him on the outside or give him a wide open deep shot, and he's going to hit it every time. So it's kind of disheartening to see him just have a little bit of a down year in stats thus far. I mean, I know he's talented and he's got it, but it's just concerning.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. As you said earlier, it's this is common knowledge at this point. Our two leaders on this team are two when an opponent looks at our team and wants to look over our roster, the two guys that they're going to see that lead us per se are Caleb Cato and Zach Scott. That's not unheard of or anything, but they're sophomores, and one of them didn't start a single game last year, so it's a work in progress, and they're being asked to be upperclassmen right now, and it's of no fault to their own, obviously.
But let's talk about that a little bit. I was talking with with Russell a little bit during the game, and I want to know you guys' thoughts. How much does it actually matter if you gain a year of experience? If you go from freshman to sophomore to junior, are you gonna magically be a leader or magically be 5 points, 7 points per game better? I mean, does it really? What I'm saying is, and not knocking the players, but are they going to continue to grow, or is it just because the rest of the team isn't that good?
I'm starting to get a little worried that they don't really have a supporting cast, and it's kind of looking bleak. I mean, not to jump to too much conclusions in the rest of the year, but I kind of agree with you there in a sense of I don't know. I'm liking what they're showing in a sense but I think their ceiling, is kind of drastically getting lowered due to what they have around them. So unless we bring someone in next year, maybe go back to that transfer, I doubt that's going to happen. But part of me kind of thinks that we would see them be succeeding more had we had kind of stuck to that, that dually mindset. I'm not saying that I don't agree with switching it up, but does that kind of make sense?
No, I agree. I think you have to have some sort of veteran leadership. And this point, it's two sophomores.
And it's only them.
That's,
and then next year it's gonna be them. So it's where do they go from there almost?
Right, but next year is another year. They'll be juniors. So
yeah,
with sports today, the patience is very small.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it's you wait a year, you wait another year, you hope for the best. Does it happen? Maybe, maybe not. You hope it does, and that's kind of what Michael Fly's hoping on, is he's recruiting these young guys and building from the bottom up.
Right, which I think we'd all agree that that's not a bad strategy. It's just in this 1 to 2 year period that this transition is really, taking its toll, that we're really feeling the effects between last year and this year. You would like if you had, bigger name, high major transfers or something like that to sort of lead you for 1 to 2 years. That, as you said, that dually style of recruiting. You would like to see that, but that's because you'd like to win, and I get that. But I guess just playing devil's advocate, because I'm not saying if I agree or disagree with that, but that also means less playing time for the guys who you're trying to develop, which may inherently mean more wins. But what does that do for you in the future? I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree, but I don't think you can go cold turkey like that. To a certain degree, if you cut out all your seniority, all your transfers, and you bring in strictly young guys, it's going to be bad. It's going to be rough.
Yep.
So
yeah, and you just kind of have to bank on them getting better, be good juniors next year.
And maybe that's the plan. Is it it's going to be rough for a couple of years, and hopefully you see sparks of that. But to maintain a little bit of positivity and chemistry, I think you need to have some sort of veteran leadership.
Right, but again, one thing I'll bring up is this team's not supposed to look like it does right now. We're supposed to have an upperclassman in Brian Thomas, and we're supposed to have Christian Carlisle, a senior.
Right.
So I don't think that it was intended to be like, oh, let's get rid of all these old guys, let them transfer if they want to transfer, and let's just bring in the youth. Let's have freshmen starting. It wasn't. We were supposed to have Zach Johnson last year. And imagine that last year's team was Zach Johnson on it. And Nero Mercurius, and he wouldn't have had to be such a focal point, which I think kind of hindered his effectiveness because he was our spot-up shooter, but he had to be a scorer at times and get layups and play defense and all these things. So yeah, going back to this year, having those two guys, Brian Thomas, who actually, just to bring up real quick, this is the most recent thing I've heard of regarding Brian Thomas's status, is their play-by-play guy said he's out for another 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know where he gets that information. I don't know if it's just something that the team kind of gives to the press real quick to read off stats during the game or whatever, but 4 to 6 weeks, that's, a month to a month and a half, and that puts us at basically right at conference play like we've been thinking. So as long as that holds true, I don't know how long it's going to take BT to get into game shape, like I can run the floor and everything. But at the same time, hopefully by then, guys like Dakota Rivers and Rainwater will be established enough to where we can give, Brian Thomas ample time to where we don't need to just throw him in and have him play 20-plus minutes a night. But yeah, it's, there's a lot of questions here still, obviously.
Yeah, and then I'm just still dying to see how Malik Hardy might impact. Apparently, they said, actually the announcer tonight said maybe within a week. I don't know where he gets his information, but for Malik Hardy, he said within the next week. So
it's still very disheartening to see all these potential rebounds that we could be getting, and it seems like they're being just tipped, bobbled, and tapped the other way. I know that's not the case, and that's not what they're obviously trying to do, but it's like, man, we cannot get a single rebound or 50-50 ball to save our life.
Yeah, I've never seen it like this.
Because, our rebounds compared to theirs, it was 37 us and 42 to them. It's not that bad, but the turnovers is really what killed us. I think it just seemed to compound the effect when you have those turnovers and those 50-50 balls that don't go our way, and it's like, man, we can't even catch a break. What did we actually expect going into VCU being 21 in the AP poll, us struggling? We hadn't even won it, when we were talking about VCU in the preview. We didn't even have a W at that point. We all expected to lose. It's just, it's hard coming off that comeback win against FAU, and then coming into VCU and you lose by 30 and you have your lowest scoring total of the season.
Yeah, and one more thing, just to kind of wrap up the VCU thing is, while you're watching the game, it's tragic, because we just come off this great win and come from behind, and then we play VCU and we, get obliterated. We come out of the game slow, sloppy, both teams do, but they find footing and we don't even know where to stand. We're getting beat up. We lose by 30 points at the end of it. But when you kind of remove yourself from that, did any of us actually think that we were going to win this game, at the start of the season or without being caught up in the moment? It was a somewhat expected loss from an outsider perspective. And it's so when you look back on the season, without getting into specifics, you're going to say, oh yeah, VCU, of course we lost to them. What you look for is the people who played well. Now, grant you want that to be more people, but Cato, he looks great. He's looked great every game, even when he hasn't put up the most points and maybe makes a turnover or two, but he looks solid. His shooting percentage is usually pretty good. He was 50% from 3 today. Really big from 3. He got 9 rebounds, 14 points. He's pretty clean with the ball, and you look for things like that to kind of, out of an expected loss, you look for those positives.
Yeah, I think we all knew we were going to go into this as a learning experience and more or less a loss. But it's just
Yeah.
the turnovers have to be limited, and I don't know if I can chalk that up to just unexperienced or I don't know. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see how we rebound against Florida Tech. I know they're NAIA, but
Division 2 technically.
oh, is it?
Yeah. But still,
Did
it's the same.
Did
same
that
deal.
change?
I don't think so. I think
Oh,
they're
I
just
thought they
D2.
were NIA, but yeah. Anyways, Florida Tech, we got a game at home on Tuesday.
Tuesday, yes.
Which is what's the date?
26th.
Yeah, not to sound too negative or anything, but like, it seems like our turnover problem has been every game, regardless of our opponent.
I'd agree.
Yep.
And I know I think we can chalk it up to inexperience, just because our basketball IQ seems to be super low. And I don't claim to be like a basketball expert or anything, but sometimes when I'm watching, I'm like, man, like, it's unlike anything I've seen from us, at least.
No, and especially tonight's game, I have not seen that many turnovers in a long time.
No, I don't remember a game where we've had that many. And, I mean, we've seen bad. I mean, in the past, it's been like, oh my God, 10 turnovers at halftime. This is tragic. Well, how about 14 in the first half? I think it was,
but
and then another
total
and then another
is...
13 in the second half. So far, even this year, a kind of a bad turnover season, like you're saying, Dawson. And for the most part, our struggles are a half long. And this game, our turnovers, at least that facet of the game, that was a full game long. We did not rebound from that.
So yeah, FGCU moves on to 1-5, loses 78-48 to VCU. It's a tough loss. Looking to rebound against Florida Tech on Tuesday the 26th. And then after Thanksgiving, we have a series of games. I know we're playing Georgia Southern, North Dakota, Campbell. I think that might be
That's
all.
it. Yeah, 3 games at Alico.
So it'll be
Good news,
rapid fire,
Good
back to
news.
back. It'll be interesting. I think, who did Georgia Southern play this year? It was it North Florida, and I think North Florida beat them.
I don't recall.
Meanwhile, Liberty's off to their best start in program history.
Right. Not letting anybody down this year.
Nope. They play, who do they play? I think they play LSU coming up. That'll be interesting.
And VCU beat LSU.
Yeah. So that'll be a good
It's another
preview,
litmus test on
yeah.
how we stack up against teams and how other teams stack up against them.
Yeah. I guess you never really know, but yeah, I always like watching those.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for them,
Yeah, they're a likable team. I'll say it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. I don't necessarily dislike them, like I do some of these other ASUN. Yeah.
So yeah, North Florida beat Georgia Southern by 3, 80-77. So it'll be interesting to see what we can do against Georgia Southern. North Florida's had a pretty good start this year, so it's always interesting to compare other ASUN teams and similar and the same opponents. So
Yeah.
all right, let's.
But the good news, I mean, coming off the the FAU win, we had this game against VCU away, but then it was 4 out of our next 5 that were going to be at home. So I do think this is a good opportunity for us to maybe go on a little bit of a run. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what we're all hoping for.
Yeah, the one interesting stat that I saw on Twitter the other night was that FGCU, we have a 206-68 record in Alico Arena, 75% winning percentage, and then we are 99-25 in the last 8 years at home. So I mean that's not for nothing. So having 3-4 games at home,
Right. A lot of that success is from years past, obviously, even in the last 8 years.
Right, but still,
But-
it's 8 years.
Right. We still put out a good crowd at Alico, and it's at points this year already. It's been maybe, dare I say, better than the last few years as far as a home crowd. So
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I was definitely going to bring that up. There was a point where, personally, I felt when we were losing by 15 to 19 in that range, midway through the second half of the
FAU?
FAU game,
Yeah.
I genuinely felt like I was pretty upset. I was like in the last 8 years, since I've been like a real diehard. I genuinely, I don't think I could ever bring myself to leave a game, but I was thinking about it. I had thoughts, and I was kind of like disappointed in myself. I was like, I always scoffed at people that would even think about doing that. Obviously, I didn't, and that was insane. But to my point, even when we were down by 19, I was looking around and I was like, man, the student section was like going at it, and we
They
were
were
down
live.
like 15.
they were
And
dancing
it
to
wasn't
Baby
even like,
Shark and
yeah, there was a media timeout, and I noticed this in real time when I went back and watched it. There was a media timeout, and we had just went on a mini run, and then we turned the ball over. This was probably with about 13 or so minutes left in the second half. We turned the ball over after a little run, and then give up a 3 to push it back to like 18 or something like that. And student section, they're like, that song comes on where like they all lock arms and like sway. I was
Yeah.
like,
Swag surf.
that's
Yeah.
normally like a super hype, like we're winning or like it's a close game.
Yeah, or
No,
like
we're down
conference
by
play late in
18.
the season. Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
non-conference, foe who we're not playing very well against, down by a whole bunch, and the student section is acting like they're brothers in arms and putting on a good show for the opponent.
Yeah, and I've been during like this part of the season. Even in our prime, I feel like it didn't really have that feel, especially being down. I remember being in November games around Thanksgiving, and no one's there. It's even a somewhat decent team like FAU, like there's been equivalent teams, and people are just not there, and the student section especially is not there. So that's one bright spot that we can talk about here, is like we really do have a pretty good fan base this year.
I mean,
at least at Alico, it's great. It's great, and I really think that definitely helped that comeback, and that's something that I've been thinking about the last few days. Is, man, like we really do have something special, at least for now, and I just hope we can somehow turn it around.
Give them a winner.
Keep that up. Yeah.
that's to be seen. I mean, we haven't hit that Thanksgiving break yet.
Right, it'll be interesting, these
Right.
3-4 home games.
But no, I agree with you. The fans were incredible, being down by 19 with 11:54 in the second half. I mean, who would have thought that we come back 19 points down with, you're talking 11 minutes, 10 minutes. It's almost the last half of the second half. And the students were sticking around. Everyone was sticking around. It was pretty uplifting, because back in our days when we were there, I mean, people would have already walked out.
Right, conference play games were big, but that really
Yeah.
the whole month of November, besides like the first game of the year, was not. It wasn't like it was the other day. That's for sure.
So yeah, to come back from 19 points down, that was insane.
Oh yeah,
Jalen Warren, ice cold.
ice in his veins.
Yeah, ice in his veins. Comes down the court, hits a floater with traffic. Who was that? It was that 7'2" guy. That
He was one of the guys down there.
Dude, this ended up number 1 play,
Number 2 play.
2 and number 1
Oh yeah.
on
2
Sports
and
Center.
1,
Yeah, I saw both. It was awesome. I mean, that's exactly what we needed for a morale boost.
Right.
And
it was
our
a good first win.
Yeah. Granted, FAU is no powerhouse. We're no powerhouse, but these guys are 0-4 at this point, and we're 19 points down. It's the latter half of the second half. We're as a player, and I've never played professional sports or collegiate sports or anything like that, but personally, I'd be like, man, it's just a loss. We're not coming back. But obviously, something changed in the locker room, whether it be Michael Fly, someone on the team leading. Hey, man, we're not out of this yet. So to come back from 19 points down, that's a gutsy performance, and that was really impressive. It's a good sign for sure.
Yeah, you can reference the post-game interview with Coach Fly, and he kind of spoke to that. Some questions to him about how do you get your guys, fighting that whole time, even down, like we keep saying, 19 points with just over 11 minutes left, and
haven't won a
right,
game yet.
exactly. So you play a team that you could be able to compete with, and then you come out so flat like that. I mean, you're right though. A lot of things that could be going through maybe a weaker-minded individual might be, wow, we can't even compete with another similar team.
You and me and everyone in that arena, more likely majority was like, we're not winning.
Right,
So,
it started to feel like that for sure, and it's hard to. I mean, there's always that chance that you're thinking like, all right, just go on a run, and that changes everything. But you just wait for it. But to further what I'm saying though is Michael Fly spoke to that. He just had to. He was telling the guys to just believe that we can win. That's all you have to do. Believe that we can win, and then he was breaking up. Let's win these 4 minutes is the words that he used. Let's win these next 4 minutes. And they keep winning 4-minute little series, and you still believe you can win, and you see that lead shrinking to 10 and then 8, and you get going, and you really see you got a shot. A couple of clutch Gagliardi threes, who was just on that game, especially in the second half. And then we're right back in it, tying it up with a Jalen Warren bucket.
And I'm kind of holding on to what Fly said in that post game press conference. How he's talking about Jalen Warren. He said, everyone's been asking him or, talking about Jalen Warren, like who is he? Like, why is he here? Like, what's he doing? And he straight face said, this was Jalen Warren. Like, this is the first time you have seen Jalen Warren.
Yeah, that's the guy they recruited is basically what he's saying.
Right. And like, I think he mentioned that, when they were starting him, it might have put a little bit too much pressure on him, so now he's coming off the bench, which I like that call. I mean, and I was, hoping maybe he would bounce back a little bit tonight against VCU, but I mean, it was an all-around.
It was against VCU.
Yeah, VCU. But
right.
So I'm excited to see how he bounces back in these next few games, and maybe hopefully continues on his run. I mean, because he uses his body pretty well in driving to the hole. I have noticed that in prior games, he'd have a few nice buckets, that seemed improbable. But he just took over, man. That was awesome.
What's crazy to me is backtracking a little bit, but in that second half against FAU, I'm looking at ESPN stuff right now, and in that second half, with 1 minute 36 seconds left to finish the game, FAU was 87% chance to win.
Wow.
That's a minute and a half, and you have almost a 90% chance to win. It just goes to show you that anything can happen. So this young team, we're 1-5 now. But if you snapshot that game, the other opponent has 90% chance of winning. We got a 10% chance of pulling it out. That's kind of how the whole season's been. So you bring this to January, you got another month and a half, whatever, of experience. Conference play, it's a little bit different. Everything's competitive. Those chances go up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is gonna be better in conference play. It's just a matter of how much better will it be.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And this non-conference it's a tough schedule.
One of the tougher ones we've had, honestly.
It is.
Yeah, I mean
we're not playing powerhouses. We're not playing Duke. We're not.
Yeah,
playing,
they're not the names that you think when you think a really tough non-conference like Duke, Kentucky, or whatnot. But these are the toughest, they're high major / mid major teams that we could be playing in St. Louis, VCU. Stuff like
considering our experience, it's
right.
even tougher.
Right.
It's not like we're going in with seniors playing Duke. That's a different story.
And we haven't even played USC yet.
Right. So, Conference January and on is going to be a different story. You know, we're going to pick up a lot more wins. It's tough to watch now, and then we'll see what happens. But it was fun to be a fan at the FAU game, and we all kind of took a break from, you know, hardcore, either taking pictures, video, analysis. I mean, you could see Russell and myself on the camera on ESPN just kind of clapping away like a dumb seal.
And if you don't know what we look like, you can tell because we're the two guys both wearing green like fans on a green out, both doing the exact same like hand motions and everything without even realizing it. Both have the same, you know, similar type of glasses. So just look for that, and you know, if you see it, screenshot it, tweet us or something, and ask if that's us, and we'll check yes or no. I look like 1.5 Elliott's. Like, just bigger, just taller, fatter.
A little more enthusiastic.
Yeah, just 1.5 everything.
The fact that we scored 16 in the first half and then 41 in the second half and outscored them, not double, but like by a lot. So the talking point kind of is, when are we going to piece two halves together?
Can't wait.
We've had stellar halves.
10-minute
whether it be
periods,
the
even
first
not
half or
right.
the second half. There's got to be a point in time where we piece those two together and just have a badass game.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, it's got to be coming.
I know it's not the most fun thing in the world to beat up on a D2 team or whatever, but I don't care at this point. I just want to see people go off. I want like 107 to 39 game.
That's what we were talking about previously, is sometimes you have to have that cupcake team in the very beginning of the season. And now we're having Florida Tech 6 games in. Is that too late?
And well, for the most part, I've been looking at.
Or is it 7 games?
I wanted to
7
see.
games.
I wanted to see how many times, like our record. Obviously, I don't expect that we've lost to Florida Tech before, but I wanted to see kind of our overall record and our scoring versus them. So I went back all the way to 2002, 2003 season, but besides that point, the past 6 to 8 years, our D1 years, we've for the most part within the first 3 games of the season we play that cupcake like we're talking about. And you're right, we haven't played one till now, and this is our 6th game or our 7th game of the season will be against that team. So whether that's good or bad or doesn't really matter, who knows? But all I know, like I said, is I want 100 plus to like 40 game.
No offense, Florida Tech. Shout out Panthers, but
yeah, go Panthers.
Not really.
Not on Tuesday, but any other day, go you. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's gonna do it for today. You can check us out after our next slate of games coming up this week. Dirty Birds pack the nests, show up. I know it's over Thanksgiving, but hopefully we can get loud at Alico Arena and get ourselves a few wins. But yeah, like I said, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for stopping by. Let's go Eagles.